much for coming. Can I just tell you a short story, which was about 20 years ago I was an aerobics instructor, and that was the last time I wore one of these radio mics, you know, for the kind of step touch thing that instructors do. So, how to nail your direct-to-consumer sales using Facebook and Instagram advertising. Now, I'm going to tell you a bit more as the talk goes along about what I do in my background, but I just want to start by saying and asking a question. Who has the word in their head, put your hands up if you do, I need to go direct to consumer? Who's had that thought? Great, we've got quite a few hands going up. Now it's really interesting for me, I've been working in the digital marketing space for a long time, 11 years in fact. And what everybody used to say, around 5-6 years ago, what everyone used to say to me was, I need to get myself out there. Who's had that thought? I need to get myself and my business out there. And that was a really common thing that people said. And then it started changing, because people started getting themselves out there. And then they started saying to me, I need to stand out online. Who's had that thought? I need to stand out online. Yeah, hands going up. That's actually the name of my next book, Stand Out Online. The reason it's called Stand Out Online is because it's what everyone's asking me all the time. How do I stand out online? What I've really noticed in the last year or so is that that language has changed again. And now everybody's talking about going direct to consumer. So again, let's see who wants to go direct to consumer. And that's because people have really realised that the power for these digital platforms is not necessarily for getting yourself out there, although it is, or for standing out online, but the real power comes in going direct to consumer and creating a customer acquisition strategy which is scalable to acquire new customers and then drives repeat purchases. And that is how these digital platforms work at their finest and at their most powerful. So we've moved on from sort of getting yourself out there and standing out online to people who are really beginning to understand, in fact, what I need to do is build a direct-to-consumer customer acquisition strategy that enables me to scale my brand at a measurable pace that I can speed up or slow down, whatever I want to do, and that drives repeat purchases. Who would like the idea of that happening and working for their business? Right, okay. So shall I get started and tell you some about how to do that? So my goal in this talk is just to empower you with some of the basic fundamentals that you're going to need to understand in order to master the direct-to-consumer landscape and how to do this via social platforms. So in terms of where people are at, who is already running social ads, social paid ads? It has hands up high, please, so I can really see for their brands. Okay, so not that. Who's never run an ad before? Some of you are not putting your hands up. What are you doing? Right, let's do it again. Who's already running ads? Hands up high. Right. If your ads, if you feel your ads are working, keep your hands up. Don't put your hands down. Everyone who's got their hands up, keep them up. Right. If your ads are working, keep them up. Okay, so I'm talking to two people now. If you know exactly why your ads are working and you're confident about scaling them, like if I say to you, fine, double your ad spend, triple your ad spend, if you're confident saying, yeah, no problem, I know why my ads are working, keep your hands up. Yeah, cool, well done, okay. So it's really interesting, it's a really common experience when I speak on behalf of Facebook at events like this, and this is the pain point that people have with their paid traffic, is that a lot of people run ads, and they think, brilliant, this is going to be amazing, this is going to nail my brand, it's going to be an amazing outcome. And then they find that they're not sure if their ads are working or not, and it becomes a bit more painful. And then when it comes to the concept of understanding the data, understanding the algorithm and scaling those ads, a load more people fall away. So that's the pain point that brands like Facebook and Instagram have in terms of getting SME owners to successfully use their platforms. We're going to be talking about some of that today. So just to give you a bit of a background into who I am. So I started my career, I've always worked in mass media, which Facebook and Instagram is a part of the mass media. I started my career on women's magazines and national newspapers. And I took the decision to start up my own business around 12 years ago, and I left a job I had at a national newspaper in order to do that. Luckily, and I could say that this was all through foresight, but it wasn't all through foresight, it's just one of those serendipitous moments that I got into online business at a time when it was early and it was relatively simple compared to how online businesses operate today. So I started an online press agency, and let me just work out how to get the clicker working. So I started the UK's first and leading digitally disruptive online press agency called Talk to the Press. I sold that business in 2014. The whole of what I'm talking about, that direct-to-consumer generating leads through the internet, That's what I've been doing for that business and now other businesses since 2007. I've seen a lot of changes along the way. I also renovated 5 properties and I set up a company called the Notting Hill Shopping Bag Company. Has anybody heard of that? It sells souvenir tote bags along Portobello Road. I sold that business 2 years ago. Sells around 30,000 bags per year. And if you ever go, who's been to Portobello Road? Right, have you all bought a Notting Hill shopping bag? You have? Well, there you are. If you ever go to Portobello Road, the Notting Hill shopping bag is the souvenir to get whilst you're there. So, 4 years ago, after selling both businesses, I sort of had a break thinking, what am I going to do now? And I realised very quickly that semi-retirement was not going to be for me. And people started asking me to help them with their digital and personal and brand building strategies. So the agency I now have, called Bolt Digital, started in my garden shed around 4 years ago. Since then, I've become an accredited trainer for Facebook. I've written the book, The Best-Selling Blog. My next book, Stand Out Online, is out in November. And I'm one of only 8 women who represent Facebook at events like this, helping train small business owners in how to use Facebook and Instagram for their business. And it's really, what's amazing about Facebook is up until about 2 years ago, they didn't really have a community strategy. Like, it was a self-service platform, and you used it, and it was a bit like you either used it and you learned it or you didn't. It's quite difficult to get help directly from Facebook. What we're really seeing now is that their whole customer services is massively improving. I don't know if any of you have ever had to try and contact customer services at Facebook and Instagram, but it used to be a very painful experience. It still can be a bit of a painful experience, but it's improving. And they have people like me going out and meeting people and helping train people. So it's a real sea change for Facebook. You look at brands like Google, they've gone out through their digital garage for years training people in how to use Google for their business. Facebook are doing the same thing now. Oh, I have to keep remembering to point it over here. So the agency I run is called Bolt Digital. We specialise in direct-to-consumer campaigns. So helping businesses, whether they are product-based businesses or service-based businesses, sort of bypass the middleman. So it used to be about getting reach, was all about going through PR or TV adverts, or the only way really to go direct-to-consumer was leafleting and brochures, brochures that you sent out in the post to people. I don't know how many years ago that is. But now we can all go direct to consumer relatively easily through platforms like Facebook and Instagram. I also have 2 kids. So what I think is really important to know is that we are practitioners. So everything I go out and teach people, we also do in the agency. So this is a brand we've worked with, a beauty brand that's gone direct to consumer. They launched last year in September. That was their sales for August, 138 grand through their Shopify website, from a standing start in September last year. So this was somebody I met, that's Maxine. I met her at an event, a bit like this one. She had created an amazing brand, had no idea how to bring it to market. So what we've put in place for her is her direct-to-consumer customer acquisition and repeat purchase strategy, and that is the results we had in August, up 19% on the month before. That brand can grow up to 80% month on month, depending on all sorts of factors. Again, these are a couple of fashion brands that we work with. Just in terms of one of the metrics we look at, these are both brands that are they traditionally sell through bricks and mortar sites, and they're moving to direct to consumer. The reason is that the stores they sell through are actually beginning to close down. Retail's undergoing massive shifts. They sell in a lot of niche stores, and niche stores that don't have the financial support of big chains are some of the first ones that close down. So both these brands here, they're both owned by an American company, and they're both making the shift from selling through retail and wholesale and distribution and old school into direct to consumer. And again, some of the results, return on ad spend are the figures, one of the metrics, 5.3 and 10.54. That means for every £1 they put into Facebook and Instagram, they either get £5.53 back or £10.54 back, which covers the cost of their products, the cost of their marketing agency, plus because they know their data, they know the lifetime value of the customer, we know how to drive that customer who's made the first purchase that we've acquired here to buy again. We understand all the metrics involved with this brand, so that's their direct-to-consumer strategy working. The reason I'm showing you this is I just want you to understand that we are doing this at the coalface every day. Not every campaign that we do works. Some of them take a lot. Some of them are quite painful. It's a bit like pulling teeth. Sometimes I see it like hacking your way through a jungle, and you're trying to find the path. But we know we have created a process in order to develop these direct-to-consumer strategies. Mistakes I've made, but I will never do again, is working with brands who want to get rich quick, who feel that they can just take any old crap product from China, put it on Facebook, even though it's a load of rubbish, charge a fortune for it, and just be like, we're going to nail all our profit at first purchase. How is that about building a brand or a serious, credible business? And actually, that strategy worked about 3 years ago on Facebook because the consumers, the Facebook and Instagram browsers were much more naive than they were now. They were so excited to see like some sort of, quirky product from China. They were like, oh, that's really exciting, just buy that. And you used to be able to get away with that sort of behaviour. And that's typical behaviour seen in kind of the drop shipping opportunity, whereby drop shipping around 4 years ago was presented as a get rich quick scheme. People be trained, go to China, get some products, bring them in, sell them on Facebook, makes loads of money, or an overnight millionaire. That's mistakes we've made as an agency working with brands like that. We never work with brands like that ever again. The other mistake I've made is to work with brands where we don't have control over everything. Brands don't live, your direct-to-consumer strategy doesn't live or die based on the Facebook ads you run. It's a much more detailed process than that, and we're going to go into some of that today. So this is the process we have created at Bolt Digital for scaling a direct-to-consumer brand. This is everything that goes into it. And it's a 9-step process, and I don't think you can see it clearly enough, but I'll talk you through some of the assets, because this is what you need to really think about, because there's a massive rush right now saying, I'm just going to advertise on Facebook, and this is going to be amazing. And that's not what's going to happen unless you're really, really, really lucky, or you have a very high product, a very high-priced product that people just buy off the bat. If you want to create a brand, then all these things will tell you whether your brand will live or die, and they will all work together to creating that escalation that you saw on that beauty brand, where it's escalated from 0 to 138 grand per month in 10 months. This month we'll probably do 155 grand, and those other brands where their return on ad spend is 5 and 10. So not only have they got the strategy, do they have the right product, do they have the right price, and do they have the right margins? Then it's the product and presentation. Never, ever, ever, ever send traffic to a shit website with crap photography. I'm telling you, it's just a waste of money. You might as well take a whole load of money and literally burn it. People are not stupid. They're not going to land on a crap website and accept it or put their credit card details into it. The next is your funnels. This is about the structure of your ads and the structure of a website that allows you to put people through a process and retarget them based on the actions they have taken. And we're going to come on to that in more detail because that's more complicated. The next is about your creative production, your ads. Your very first job on a social network is to stop the scroll. Like, think of your own behaviour on a social network and how you're probably just in a frenzy of this. Are you? Yeah, right, because I definitely am. You're just like, you're almost not even thinking straight. Your first job as an advertiser is to stop the scroll. And it doesn't matter, like, you should be trying all sorts of things in order to stop the scroll, not just being like, oh, I've made one nice ad and I spent like £5 grand with a production agency and this ad's going to do it. It's like, no, it's not, and we're going to come on to split testing later. Algorithm training. I'm going to come on to that in more detail later as well. You are living in a landscape of artificial learning, but it's not like the Facebook algorithm. It's not like some sort of genius. There's no magic wand. We just wave it and it's like, oh, you go out and get me loads of new customers. You have to train, you have to understand the process, set down parameters, and train the algorithm as it moves through each parameter. Oops, just went back. Conversion rate optimization. No matter what percentage your website converts at, you can always improve its conversion and get more money from the same amount of traffic. Loyalty. This is about email, messenger bots, to get those people who have bought from you for the first time. It's like, wow, they bought from me for the first time. That is amazing. Thank you so much for your purchase. Can I show you some more stuff you also might like? And let me buy from you again. Analysis, measurement, and refine. That is about knowing all your data, your margins, your lifetime customer, the frequency that you can expect your customers to repurchase at. And for those of you that are new brands, you're not going to know this right now. You're going to have to wait for a year, 18 months, while you build up that data. And finally, you get to scaling out your campaigns, which is when you know all of this is working, then I can say to you, double your ad spend, and you're going to say, yeah, sure, like, I'm confident to do that, and I'm not going to freak out about it. Only once you've got all of that in place, and that whole 8 steps before the 9th takes time. So we're going to talk about some of the 3 things that I've learned, and I'm going to teach you as much as I can in the time about how to do those for yourself. So firstly, you always, always, always need an integrated approach to your marketing, and it comes back to this whole 9-step process. We're not just talking about paid campaigns, on Facebook or Instagram. Let's look at why you need an integrated approach. The first thing as to why people get really excited about these social platforms is the good over here, which is people are checking Facebook. 3/4 of Facebook users and Instagram users check it every day. Like, who is on Facebook every single day? Or who's on Instagram every single day? Come on, guys, I expect to see all the hands up. I don't even believe that most of you are not on those platforms every single day. It's like, this is where we live now when we're on our phones. 1 in 5 mobile minutes is spent on these platforms. The average person has checked Facebook, I think, 14 times a day by 10 o'clock in the morning. If that's me, it's way more than that, but I am running ads, so I'm allowed to look more often, right? So, you know, this is where we live, and that presents an amazing golden opportunity for everybody, because it's like everybody is on Facebook and Instagram. The bad, though, the bad news as to why you shouldn't just be like, it's all about Facebook and Instagram, is social browsers are not that straightforward. They are really, really, really distracted. They're kind of just messing around. They're standing in queues. Just think about your own behaviour as to when you go on Facebook. It's like there's a moment of boredom, you're waiting for something, you go on Facebook, you're distracted. They're also not searching. I'm a massive fan of Google traffic. The more traffic you can bring in of Google searches, the better. These two work in conjunction. Google's just as important for your direct-to-consumer strategies as well. On social networks, people are disproportionately browsing and just looking for entertainment and looking for fun, versus actually looking to find a service or to buy something. And they also rely heavily on views of other people, their peers. So that means it's not as easy for you as a brand to be like, we're the best, you must buy a product, because they don't really care what you think. They want some influencer to tell them that you're the best. So it's a very complicated consumer versus a searcher. You've also got to think about the insane competition on Facebook. And these are some of the stats about it. If you had your maximum 5,000 friends and were in 6,000 groups and joining 5,000 pages, you could see 15,000 posts per day. Luckily, even if you do have quite a lot of that, the algorithm narrows it down, so that we as individuals have the potential to see 1,500 posts per day approximately, and posts and ads together. Most of us then see around 300 posts and ads per day, but clearly how much we see is a function of how much time we spend on the site and how fast we're scrolling. So there's a lot of competition. You know, if you're putting out one ad and it's going in amongst 3,000 posts of people who are distracted and scrolling fast, you know, you can see why it can be hard to cut through in that situation. So your very first job as advertisers is to stop the scroll. You have less than 3 seconds to stop the scroll. If I see any ad that opens with a fade in logo or a fade from white, all my creative team, do you know, they sometimes still do this. They send me an ad to approve and it's like fading in for 1 second from like a black screen, and I'm literally thinking, kill me with boredom. That's 1 second you've just cost of my 3 seconds that you have in which to stop the scroll. Facebook themselves, like, why have you even done that? How many times do I have to tell you guys, no opening fades, no opening logos, all I want in those first 3 seconds is action. Facebook themselves did an ad for Ben & Jerry's, whereby it was literally like a table, put the brand down, this is seconds 1, 2 and 3, brand down, explode the ice cream. So before 3 seconds had passed, you'd seen the brand and you'd seen it exploded. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily, you know, what you need to do for your ads, but that just gives you an illustration of how important those first 3 seconds are. So you've really got to turn traditional ads. If you're over 30 and you might naturally think of an ad as being like, say, a Fairy Liquid ad, like, oh, here's some family time, you know, now there's a pile of dishes, and now mum reaches for the fairy. It's like, well, she's reaching for the fairy at 15 seconds. It's like, forget it. You know, no one's going to wait around 15 seconds. So you have to turn traditional storytelling ads of the sort that we all grew up with, looking at them. I mean, some of you are obviously not over 30, but some of you are. And you have to do those in inverse. Think about things in completely the opposite way as we would naturally do, being the age that we are. And also design for mobile and sound off. All ads are subtitled. You know, some brands spend ages worrying about the music. It's like, seriously, no one is going to listen to your ad. It's going to be watched in silence. The brand we were working with right now had a very long, with a creative agency, sort of agonising process over the music, and I was literally like, it's a complete waste of time. No one's going to hear it. So as part of your goal to stop the scroll, you have to apply relentless split testing, which means you need a hell of a lot of ad creatives if you're serious about your campaigns. These are two brands that we work with. I can't remember what time frame I did this with. This would have been over sort of the past 10 months. 433 ads have gone through that ad account. These are all ads in different formats, so obviously different format that Facebook allows you to do: carousel ads, video ads, canvas ads, collection ads, etc., etc. But also different formats in terms of the videos we've created, and different formats in terms of the size and dimensions of the ads. So yes, you know, it's really great if you get one brilliant video ad and it's in traditional portrait format, but it's like, literally I want to see that same ad go out in square format, traditional landscape format, so 1920 by whatever it is. I want to see that same ad go out in square format. I want to see it go out in a portrait iPhone format. So just running one ad in one format is not going to cut it. So this brand has had 433 ads go through it, different variations, different formats, different sizing. Another brand over here, 145 ads go through its account, in a bid to find the winning ad to stop this scroll and to get people to take action. The other thing about winning ads is, sadly, they never last forever. So, you know, you see ads go out, and depending on the spend of the account, how quickly the ad gets ad fatigue. It's like on TV, you know, if Ferry was still running the ad that they've been running for the past 10 years, you'd be like, Jesus Christ, not this sodding ad again. They have to keep recreating their ads. It's exactly the same thing in social landscape. So even when you finally have a winning ad, it will fail. Without a doubt, over time it will fail. So you must have new ads waiting in the wings, so that as soon as you see signs of ad fatigue, you bring out your new ad. Hang on, we've just got a bit of a delay on the... I'm just going to go backwards, not forwards. Hang on a second, guys. I know, you see, you're already bored, right? It works in the real world as well as on ads. Imagine even, oh shit, here we go. Are we moving forward? Who knows who this guy is? Does anyone recognise him? Okay, so this is Paul Dacre, who's the editor of the Daily Mail, one of the newspapers I began my career on. What I love about coming from the old media is just seeing how much things have changed. So in the old world, people like this guy had a clear view of what was good and what was bad. It was all based on kind of really a load of rubbish, which was his personal opinion. And he would be like, oh God, you know, this copy's not good enough. Oh God, this image isn't right. And it was all based on just superfluous, whatever the word is, thoughts in his head, meaningless. Versus the new world, where actually it's all borne out in the data. So quite often when we're working with brands, they'll be like, oh, we've had this amazing photo shoot, and you know, these ads are going to be amazing. And I'm always like, I have no personal view on anything to do whether your ads are good or bad. It's all going to be shown out in the data. It's like, don't even agonise over it, just put it together as quickly as possible, launch it, let it run for 3 days, and you'll know whether it's good or bad. You don't even need to take that viewpoint. I have seen plenty of ads that I would describe as really bad, with bad sound, filmed on iPhones, poor quality footage, selfie style, you know, like just as someone going, oh, you know, I really love this product, do really well. And I've seen ads that are all arty-farty with big production behind them do badly. Equally, for one brand, the brand I showed you where they're a retail brand going direct to consumer, they have two brands within their, whatever it's called, trading company. Two brands within their trading company. For one brand, the kind of production style, all swishy hair and, you know, wonderful lighting does really well. For the other brand, it's really low quality. Not low quality as in like just stuff you could have filmed yourself on your iPhone. Testimonial videos do really well. So you really must forget any notion of what you think is good, what your best friend thinks is good, what anyone, your art director, your brand director thinks is good. It's like, don't listen to anyone, just launch the ad, let it run for 3 days and read the data, and then you'll know what's good and what's not. Still got a bit of delay on the... So, did I do that or did you? I did, okay. So these are the metrics, the soft stats, that tell you how well your ad is, whether it's a good or bad ad. And these are not your conversion stats or your hard stats, these are your soft stats. Click-through rate, cost per 1,000 impressions, cost per click, and relevance score. The stats you see within the Ad Manager database are really important in your mission to stop the scroll. They are only soft stats though, they're not your performance scaling stats that you'll be looking at. So the second thing you must do, which most people don't do, is you must build a funnel. So boosted post, who here has boosted posts? That is not a customer, it may work, I mean it's nice and everything, but that is not a customer acquisition funnel. That's just a boosted post. We audit a lot of ad accounts at Bolt Digital, and I literally very rarely see anything that is not a collection of boosted posts. I very rarely see proper funnels in place. So what a funnel means, it's the same as a marketing funnel in outside of Facebook, but it's even more important within Facebook, is that you're going to have 3 tiers of campaigns running at any one time. The first tier of campaigns is your discovery tier of campaigns, in which you put your brand in front of someone. You don't just go out to the market and be like, buy this, because people are going to be, especially on Facebook where they're browsing and where they're minding their own business, they're just going to be like, what do you mean buy this? Like, what? I don't even know who you are. So first of all is your discovery tier of campaigns. And next is your intent tier of campaigns, where you ask people to take an action based on how they behaved during your first tier of campaigns. And finally, you have a loyalty layer of campaigns, in which you ask people to buy again. So if we look at an analogy of buying a pair of red boots. Now, if I was on Google and I want to buy some red boots, I'm going to Google red boots and a load of red boots are going to come up, and chances are I'm going to buy some red boots because I'm searching for red boots. And that's great, that's why Google's brilliant. People are showing you what they want and giving you a chance to advertise accordingly. On Facebook, people are not looking for red boots. They're just minding their own business, they're distracted, they're surfing, they're in a queue somewhere. So if I'm the person selling red boots, the first thing I'm going to do, and this is in its very simple terms, is I'm going to run a campaign. I might run a few to testing saying 10 ways to wear red boots, or the 10 you have to have these red boots this season. And then, for those people who've bothered to visit and read my article or watch most of my video, I'm going to then section out those people. So if we take this room, for instance, and I run to all of you my red boots advert, like 10 ways to wear red boots. You guys scroll straight past it, so I want you guys out. You guys maybe watch 50% of my videos, so I'm like, okay, maybe they're interested. And you guys watch like 75% of my videos, so I'm like, this lot, you guys are my people. So I'm now going to run just to you guys a call to action ad asking if you want to buy some red boots. If you then do buy some red boots, which probably most of you won't, and maybe just you four this time do buy the red boots. You four, I mean all of you are now in my world, I'm going to keep remarketing to you until you're just like never going to escape basically. You four in particular who bought my red boots are now going to be upsold. You want some red boots, you want some white socks, you want some blue boots, because you were in my world. So this is what a funnel looks like this is what a proper funnel looks like. And you can see that at any one time I'm going to have my top of funnel campaigns running. I'm going to have traffic, so blue is your cold audiences, pink is my warm audiences, and red is my hot audience, you four, my red audiences. So at any one time I'm going to have all those campaigns running, otherwise I do not have a proper funnel. And all those campaigns are going to segregate people out. So basically, these are going to cold audiences and bringing them through my Facebook ad to my product page, at which point people may check out, hopefully, and buy. Obviously, we all know most people are not going to do that. So all the people who visit my product page and then disappear are going to go through a content flow. I'm going to think to myself, what are their objections? Why haven't they bought? You know, they might think the red boots aren't comfortable, they might think the red boots are too expensive, and I'm going to deliver them more messaging to try and overcome their hurdles, to bring them back to the product page. I'm even going to probably offer them a discount as part of this sequence, to bring them back to the product page to get them to buy. And then for all the people who have bought, you're going to go into another content or ad flow. This is what that looks like within Ads Manager, and this is why I never see ad accounts set up properly, because I never see ad accounts with all these campaigns running at once. You can see here, top of funnel campaigns are labelled, this is the way we labelled them just for clarity. If you ever want me to order your ad accounts, please just try and enable them before you speak to me, because it's so confusing trying to work out what people have done. But anyway, top of funnel campaigns, cold audiences, middle of funnel campaigns, bottom of funnel campaigns, and this one as well, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. All those campaigns are running simultaneously because they are all working in conjunction with each other, depending on the stage in which people get to. Your top of funnel campaigns are your scaling campaigns. They are always bringing new people into your world. Depending on what actions they take, your middle of funnel campaigns then kick in and start targeting with appropriate messaging depending on how they've behaved. And finally, your bottom of funnel campaigns kick in, again depending on the actions that they've taken. In terms of audiences, this is the volume of audience. So on an ad set level is where you test audiences and placements. Again, in talking about the volume of testing that goes on within these accounts that are able to scale properly is immense. This campaign has had 307 ad sets go through it. We test as standard in any ad, particularly for e-commerce, we set up 45 custom audiences of people who are actually taking events or taking action on your website, and create 45 lookalikes as well as interest-based audiences. So you're always going to be testing, look, Great Britain 10% audience, Great Britain 5% audience, interest-based audience, men, interest-based women audience. You're always testing audiences against each other to find your top performing audiences at all funnel steps. So the next part that you must do is about training the puppy, which is really about beginning to understand Facebook's algorithm and how that works. So, this thing's so annoying. So, no one at Facebook calls the algorithm a puppy, by the way, at all. This is just what I've called it, having now worked with it for 4 years. Because basically, you are constantly, who knows this American dog trainer? Something, celebrity dog trainer. This is me when you come to me and you're like, oh, you know, I just want you to run my campaigns for 2 weeks. If you get some results, I'm going to scale my budget. And I'm like, do you think I have a magic wand in my pocket that means I can do that and make that work in 2 weeks? And that's me when you have a more realistic view and understand that you've got a puppy that you're trying to train. So, the reason I've come to think of Facebook as a puppy is because over time you can really see the algorithm start learning. For some brands it takes 3 weeks actually. Right now we're running, one of our brands is an off-plan property developer, and their campaigns, the algorithms kicked in and learned really fast, and we've seen their cost per lead. It starts high obviously because no one knows what they're doing, the algorithm doesn't know, we've seen it drop quite rapidly. For other brands, you just get a feeling when you're running the ads that you're finding your route through. You know, you're starting with a crazy jungle and then you start finding your route through and you can see everything on the ads optimized. So you must understand that the algorithm takes time to learn and you have to have time and patience. You must set parameters for it. You know, I quite often see campaigns where it's like, who are you targeting? Oh, the entire world. And it's like, well, you know, I know these artificial things are clever, but they're not that clever. You know, the people who are clicking to your ad from the random island off the coast of Hawaii where they don't even speak English are only serving to muddy and confuse the algorithm. Like, what are you doing? You have to set geographical parameters, and you start scaling campaigns if you want to go internationally once you've got it working in one area. Equally, you set event-based parameters. If you are a completely new brand with nothing, you're not going to be able to optimize for conversion. You've got to get Facebook to, you've got to drive traffic and get them to understand who your best website visitors are before you start asking it to find you purchases. It's just so important to have that view. And so why I see it as a puppy is because if you had a puppy here and all of you sitting there and you all started shouting at it like sit, stay, walk, what would the puppy do? Like literally have a nervous breakdown, wouldn't it? And it would be psychologically scarred for the rest of its life. Working within the Facebook algorithm is just a helpful way to think of it. You know, one person will take their time with the puppy to set some boundaries, like this is sit, this is walk, this is stay. And over time the puppy will learn. So one way to do that if you have no data, as I said, is to optimize first for clicks and then landing page views. And just realise you've got to start building up pixel data. So Facebook, they advise you don't optimize for conversions, i.e. purchase, until you've got 10,000 pixel events on your site happening per month. So if you go in your, you need to, if anyone wants to know how to see their pixel data, just ask me and I'll tell you. You can see how much activities Facebook's getting. So the pixel, who does not know what the Facebook pixel is? Hands up, just sit. Okay, good. Well, you definitely shouldn't be running any ads unless you know what the Facebook pixel is, unless you know it's working. So the Facebook pixel is a piece of code that Facebook gives you. Every ad account comes with a pixel. You put it on your website, and it enables Facebook to match the people and the behaviour they take with their profiles on Facebook and Instagram. It really is the best thing ever. I absolutely love it. It's an amazing piece of technology. Every ad account has a pixel dashboard like this. You don't really need to understand it, but this is a bit like the rev counter on cars in the 80s and 90s. Remember that, when you used to be like, oh, I know my engine's on because my rev counter's on too, even though I can hear it. I don't think cars have rev counters anymore. This just shows you that your pixel is active and Facebook is receiving data. And we can see the spread of data that it's receiving. You don't need to understand it, but you need to know that that is active. So the other brilliance of the Facebook pixel is it enables you to create audiences and based on the actions they're taking and find more people like them. So there are three main types of audience within Facebook and Instagram. The first one is core audiences, which is what I call best guess audiences. The next one is custom audiences, which is people in your world. So all of you guys who you watched 50% of my Red Shoes video, and you guys were really interested in it, you're all in my custom audiences. And the final thing is a lookalike audience. So core audiences are the first audiences that people come across when they're thinking of advertising. And they get really, really excited about these audiences because you think, oh, this is great, I'm going to be able to target these, I know who my customer is, I'm going to be able to target these people who are like this. One of our brands, this is another off-plan property developer, was absolutely adamant, my customers are people who live in this particular area of Cambridge and they like Soho House. So obviously you've got to start somewhere, right? You have to start with something. So we start with that. Anyway, I can tell you his customers do not live in that area of Cambridge at all. Like, he was so wrong on his customers. But you have to start somewhere, and you should expect that your core and interest-based audiences are not necessarily going to be that effective. Your next audience is your custom audiences, enables you to reach people you already know. So this is a very powerful type of audience. Within custom audiences, your website visitors, people who are watching your videos, people who are engaging with your social content. Your email list you can upload to Facebook as long as you've approved all for GDPR, of course. And you can only get these two people in your custom audiences if you have that pixel integrated on your website. So next up is lookalike audiences, which is more people similar to one of your custom audiences. So within Facebook Ads Manager, you can create a lookalike audience, and I can say I want more people similar to these four. Actually, I can't say four, you need around 100 for a good lookalike. So I need 100 people to buy my red shoes, and then I'm going to say I want more people like these people who bought these red shoes. So really, if you are a brand who is restricted by budget or you're new, you want to get as fast as you can, moving away. So you're going to have to launch with interest-based audiences, so you have no choice, those core audiences. You want to move as swiftly as you can through to custom audiences, where you've got your warm people who you can give specific audiences to, and lookalike audiences. What's ironic is that in time, as your ad spend increases, you will then come back to those core audiences because you want to scale out and bring more people in. But when you're looking for a cost-effective way of advertising, stick within custom and lookalike audiences for better results. Another way when you're learning about ads is to look at the ads on your feed and right-click on this button here when you see an ad and ask, why am I seeing this advert? And it will help you understand how other brands are targeting, which if you're a beginner in ads is really important. So Bloom & Wild are targeting me. It won't tell you everything about what they're doing, it just gives you an insight. So for instance, these are ads I saw in my feed. Bloom & Wild are targeting me because they want to reach women aged 25 and older. I know that I'm in an interest-based audience for them. Versus, say, Lizelle, who are targeting me because I'm on their customer list. So I know that I'm in a custom audience for them, I'm a warm lead for them. And this brand, Truva, targeted me because I'm similar to their customers. So we know that Truva are running an ad and they're running it to lookalike audiences. It's just when you're first working with Facebook audiences, if you are new to the platform, which I think you are, a lot of you are, then it's really helpful to learn from what those who are ahead of you are doing and just get your head around how they're targeting and start asking yourself why they're targeting that way. The next thing, coming back to the puppy, is to really remember that puppy needs supporting. It's not all about Facebook ads. This is how, or Instagram ads, this is where the integrated strategy works. It's about focusing on building up custom audiences, build your website traffic, build your video views, build traffic coming in from Google, do whatever you can to give more and better learning than you can get just from sending traffic from Facebook. And you have to keep doing that even once you're advertising, because the algorithm is learning the whole time, and you want to keep, you don't want to just send a load of traffic from Facebook if you can also send 50% of your traffic from Google. Google traffic is going to be likely to be higher quality because it's got intent behind it. So you've always got to be thinking about building your own world and your custom audiences before you advertise and once you've started advertising. The other thing we do to support puppies is to help, because it's not live or die on one ad either, is we use Evergreen Content stacks. So in this particular brand, once you've taken an action we want you to take, you go through 90 days, so 3 months of additional content you get delivered over a sequence. So if you, never visit a website for a brand I work on, guys, because you're never going to get out of seeing their content again. But that's because we're trying to support the ads. So if you come into this website or you download a brochure, I can't remember what brand this is, but you then go into an Evergreen Content stack, and for days 0 to 3, who's been on Eve Mattresses website? Because they have an amazing Evergreen Content stack. So for the first 3 days after visiting Eve Mattress, you get one video. Then days 3 to 6, you get another video. 6 to 9, you get another video. Because they know that you're a warm prospect, you're in their world. So they're going to keep marketing to you. In this instance, this is another I think this is off-plan property. Off-plan property has a very long sales cycle. You're asking people to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on something. We're not just going to get them because they clicked on one ad. Put them through an Evergreen Content stack. This is another one of the brands we work with. This brand, I actually nearly hospitalised this guy with a number of leads that we got going into his business, which isn't funny, but he's all right, don't worry, he's fine. So this is a London-based air conditioning company. This is some of the Evergreen Content stack that people go through after visiting the website, and they get this whether they visit the website from Google or they visit from Facebook. And this content stack is all about thinking about what the customer would ask if you could get them on the phone and telling it to them over Facebook. So it's like more information about the things, positioning, what's that thing with the green stars, can't remember what it's called. Anyway, giving the social proof, founder's story. Always deliver a founder's story as part of the Evergreen Content stack. If you guys go on my website, if you go on Bolt Digital Media, you're straight away going to be stuck in an Evergreen Content stack for about 20 days. Some of that will be the founder's story. So it's like you don't want to let people get away. You don't want to have it living and dying on one ad. Right, so we're going to go to a Q&A, but first of all, just for anyone who wants to discuss how we can help you, I'm going to quickly summarise the ways you can work with us at Bolt Digital, and then we're going to get your questions ready because we're going to be answering questions. So first of all, if you have revenues of over £500,000 in your business and upwards, and you want help on your ad campaigns, then you can request a Bolt Blueprint in which we go through your existing ads and tell you what you can do differently. For those who have revenues of £500,000 and under, we have a mentoring program called the Bolt Academy. Now, this is half delivered via video training in which me and my ads team teach everything we know about ads, and half delivered by mentoring. The reason mentoring is involved is because online courses by themselves do not work. I don't know how many online courses I've bought, but I never even finished those, so they don't work. You've got to have accountability, and you've got to have the structure in place to be taught. You can't just teach yourself this stuff. So people need to be taught, and we also make you do the do. I hate it when people buy online courses and never start them, like me, complete waste of money. So in this program, you are forced through it in 6 weeks. So if you want to do the Bolt Academy, you're going to have to be prepared for some hard work. So I'll quickly run through what's in it. So there's a 36-part video course. All the videos are under 2 minutes long, and that's all about teaching you to build your funnel. It's step-by-step how to build your own funnel map, like that funnel map I just showed you, and understand and map out the audiences and ads that you're going to need to test. Plus your ads calculator. Now all the time people say to us, oh, you know, what am I going to have to spend and how much is it going to cost to acquire a customer? This is a calculator we've developed to answer that question. Based on the fact that a calculator is a static environment and Facebook is a dynamic environment, it does allow you to project ad spend to some extent. Plus 3 one-to-one mentoring sessions, either with myself or with the performance marketers who run all our paid campaigns for traffic. In terms of, did someone just jump past here? We also have a couple of bonuses. So if you are an e-commerce brand, as standard, we put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 email flows and 16 email automations. So you get all the copy for those email flows, which we would put in for you if you were working in your agency, and a whole document about how to name your audiences correctly so you can understand what is going on in your ad account. So is e-commerce swipe files, how to read Ad Manager. Actually, the best part of the Bolt Academy is this document, training how to read ad managers, because most people's problem is they cannot understand the data, and that's why they lose track of their campaigns. And finally, the guide to naming your ad campaigns. This thing is like, right. So the total value of the Bolt Academy is $6,137. These prices are based on what we actually sell this to you if you come to the agency and want to work with us as a brand, not price I made up. It's the sum for you agency price. And right now, in terms of how the one-to-one academy mentoring works, you're all booked in, people who are in the academy are booked in for bi-weekly training sessions. You have to complete modules 1 to 3 to get your first mentoring session, and from there you're in for bi-weekly mentoring, in which we go into, you grant us access to your ad account, we have full visibility of everything, and we go in and support you on a bi-weekly session during your mentoring sessions. We can cover anything you want in terms of mentoring, but if it's digital marketing, but most people's mentoring covers the following: setting up their ad account, making sure the pixel's connected, setting up their catalogs, tech support basically, building their marketing funnel and testing ad creatives. I got a really great email from an academy student yesterday that's like the penny had dropped. She's like, my beautiful funnel, I get it, which is great, so that's good news. Learning how to interpret the results and spot where a funnel is breaking. A funnel is a multi-step process. It starts with stopping the scroll and it ends with a purchase. The funnel will break at any step along that way, or could perform at any step along that way. All of those steps are driven by metrics. This is not like making stuff up. This is like there are metrics that you need to reach at every funnel step, and if you don't reach those metrics, then your funnel is broken, at which point you can make changes and make necessary adjustments and keep testing it again and again. That's what I love about the social landscape, is actually, yeah, it's creative, but it's all driven by data, so there's no arguments. You're not going to argue with me saying, is my funnel working, or I think this. It's like, I'm going to be saying it's not working at this step because this metric should be 2.5 and it's 1.3. So your website's not converting properly, so you need to fix that. Also, people have mentoring about improving website conversion and optimizing results. What's going? I think the battery's going flat on this. So, if you want to do the Bolt Academy, it's £1,500 plus VAT. We have new intakes of students every Monday. We don't do any work, we don't have anyone go into the academy unless it's a Monday morning, because we want you all running on the same timeline, and you can come and talk to me or email me if you're interested in doing the academy. And now we're going to do some questions. Oh yeah, also, can I just say one thing, this is really important, is that people, when they're baffled by ads, have two choices. One is to stay where you are and just keep running boosted posts and your campaign's not working, and the other is to actually fix it and learn. So, let's have some questions on what you're doing on your own accounts and what you need help with. Any questions? Hi.
You were saying about Google ads, that the traffic from Google, not necessarily Google ads, but the traffic from Google is far superior, better quality than from Facebook. I'm just curious, it seems that your agency focuses more on Facebook than Google. I was just curious why that is.
No, we don't. I mean, when I give this talk, this is content that's come from Facebook HQ. We focus on strategies that work. So it depends on the brand. But we focus, I mean, we run integrated marketing strategies that include Google. The difference between Facebook and Google is that Google is can be high quality because of search intent. Google is not scalable. You're always limited, until you start nailing YouTube for brand awareness, you're always limited by the number of searches there actually are. So if you take most products, like say a collagen brand, which is one of the types of clients we work with, there's not that many searches in Google, really, for that product. So you can't scale past the number of searches. On Facebook, you can scale very fast to new people, but it's really important. My absolute thing is, and we have this discussion as an agency, should we specialise? And it's interesting we have a discussion internally all the time. Should we specialise, because everyone wants to know about Facebook ads, should we specialise in Facebook ads only? And I'm always like, no, because fundamentally what works is an integrated multi-channel marketing strategy. So it's not just Facebook or not just Google. What traffic do you bring in currently? Organic, so Google. Google organic traffic is amazing quality traffic. Like, keep bringing it in. I think the downside of things like SEO is that they take a long time to. It's much, So actually, if you were saying, what do I really need to make my brand work? It's all of it: SEO, Google pay-per-click, Google Shopping, Facebook, etc. SEO is a long game to play and win at. Okay. Who else has questions? Are there any other questions?
Hi. Thanks for that talk. It was amazingly rich in content and loads of ideas. I'm just about to launch a small brand, and I was under the impression that Instagram advertising was bringing in a much more engaged audience, and people spending longer on Instagram. But you talked a lot about Facebook.
Okay, so Facebook and Instagram are both owned by Facebook, and when we're running ads, any ad campaign should go onto Facebook and Instagram. Really, as to whether Instagram performs better than Facebook, it's just a matter of testing. Again, I have no personal views. We have brands where the cost per conversion is much lower on Instagram and others where it's much lower on Facebook. So it's all about not listening to Susie who tells you that Instagram is better than Facebook, because it's like, again, it's just a subjective view. Run the ads. We're running them from Facebook Ads Manager, and you'll soon see. It's like, again, one of our brands, they said to us, the people who run their analytics said, desktop's converting much better than mobile in terms of the overall traffic. So we then split out our campaigns around desktop campaigns and mobile campaigns, and I had that feeling of like, what's her face? Brian says that desktop's performing better than mobile, so when we split this out, our results are going to double. In actual fact, when we split it out, we saw that for social mobile paid traffic, mobile was outperforming desktop. So you can't tell, but yeah, you need to run across both platforms, and Instagram is owned by Facebook as part of the same thing, part of the same algorithm suite. Did you have a question? Similar. Okay, cool. Yeah, so really it's just a question of testing Facebook and Instagram for your own brand. I will say that the majority of the brands we work with, Facebook actually performs better than Instagram, but don't listen to my view, because we work with a set of brands that maybe are probably very different to your brand, so just test it. Okay, are there any other questions? I think we need to wrap up, right? Yeah? Okay, can I just say thank you everyone for coming on a Sunday. It's great to see you all here. Make sure you visit my website, make sure you visit Bold Digital Media, and then you'll be trapped in our content sequence.